can you imagine if, like, we found text messages from the Obama White House, and it's like, oh, Rachel Maddow texting the president, like,
Right.
Mr. President, sir, like, you need to do this, that, or the other thing. Like,
And like he listened. He was like, oh, yeah.
right.
What? Like, go back to TV. Like, all right, Rachel, you're great, but like, relax. Like, I'm not taking text messages from you.
Well, and it just lends, like you said, we should be making more of a deal because it lends credence to that, you know, the idea that Fox News is actually running the Republican Party.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
Who's ready for Voting Rights Week?
Oh, yeah.
Coming up.
That's right. That's right. As I messaged to you and Andy, banner fucking week, boys. I thought we might, like, maybe we don't do this week. We just slide out for the rest of the year. See you in January.
Impossible.
No. Impossible.
Much like a Mark Meadows text message from an anonymous congressman. It hit us. The news hit us hard and fast this week.
Oh yeah,
it had us run into scheme. So
help us. We need help. We're trapped, dude. What are you doing? Save us. Tell them to call it off. Which we'll get into, obviously. So yeah, there's a decent amount to talk about. We are recording super late, so this is not going to be a super long show like normal. We're going to try to buzz through it and get to bed at a reasonable hour. All right, so right up front, Brad, you could say it. Say, dude, I told you, because
we told you. I mean, and apparently Gavin Newsom, listener of the show, listener of the podcast,
who knew?
or at least the free hour. Maybe pay, I don't know.
I never saw that guy sign up for premium. Newsom 2028.
Who's
at gmail.com.
Who's Nevin Newsom? I don't know who that guy is.
What a dick. Gavin Newsom decides to do what we said, which was, why don't you just troll conservatives in the Supreme Court by throwing their Texas abortion ban idea, throw it on guns, and just throw it right in their face.
Yeah.
Right? And that's exactly what Newsom did. He decided, let me see if I can zoom in on this image because it's like super fucking small. I want to read this verbatim, but he basically says, like, look, quote, I am outraged by yesterday's U.S. Supreme Court decision allowing Texas's ban on most abortion services to remain in place, and largely endorsing Texas's scheme to insulate its law from the fundamental protections of Roe v. Wade. But if states can now shield their laws from review by the federal government or by the federal courts that compare assault weapons to Swiss Army knives, then California will use that authority to protect people's lives, where Texas uses it to put women in harm's way. I have directed my staff to work with the legislature and attorney general on a bill that would create a right of action allowing private citizens to seek injunctive relief and statutory damages of at least $10,000 per violation plus costs and attorney's fees against anyone who manufactures, distributes, or sells an assault weapon or ghost gun kit or parts in the state of California. If the most efficient way to keep those devastating weapons off the street is to add the threat of private lawsuits, we should do that. Signed, Gavin Newsom. Yeah. No, I like it. I love it. I want more of it. That is the type of trolling that I want. Like, and it's trolling, and I can understand. Like, it's funny how some people don't understand what this is, and people are like, I hope neither one of these pass. I think Gavin Newsom's being ridiculous. I don't think he actually wants this to pass either.
Yeah, that's the whole point. That's the whole exercise here is to show how stupid this process of enforcement is, and to just do it for something that conservatives hate, so that they can, eventually see the error of their ways on the abortion ban. Now, the major flaw in our plan is that the Alito 5, as I've heard them coined by a few people on Twitter, We're assuming that they have any kind of shame or scruples or the desire to appear consistent in their rulings. Like I think they would have no problem tossing out this same law for gun rights as they do, leaving it up in place for abortions. Like I don't think that's a thing that you'll see. But what that does do,
one of their arguments could be guns are in the Constitution specifically. And so that somehow trumps what has been signed into law, which is weird and doesn't really make sense. But I could see them somehow trying to thread that needle. But again, it doesn't make sense. Like laws are signed, like bills are signed into law because they pass constitutional muster. So you can't just say that they're not.
That was the thing too. Is that the Constitution was raised as to affirming Roe v. Wade when that was decided as well. So like even though abortion specifically is not mentioned in the Constitution, like that doesn't mean that it's not constitutional because of that. But the benefit to them just ignoring this shit, if it gets this far and if this happens, because we're still months away from that happening, is twofold. So number one, it would just kind of lay bare what we already know, and that is that the Supreme Court is just a partisan institution at this point.
That's correct.
And nothing less. And so states could just be like, yeah, we're just gonna ignore you. Like we don't really care. Like it's
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like they can push back on that. Or we can do what Policy Grandma called for today, and that is to expand the court.
Yep. Look, former presidential candidate officially on board with expanding the court. That is that again, when people said that she was a conservative, I'm not sure you understand what those words mean. Like she's not. She's very fucking liberal. So look, has Bernie even signed on to expanding the courts?
No.
Interesting.
Bernie's the same dude that originally wanted to leave the filibuster in place when he was running in 2020.
That's true.
Don't forget.
Look, I'm not going to say that Bernie would not come to the side of expanding the court. I'm just saying that it's curious that he has not already. I just think it's curious. Yeah, I know. Hiss all you want. Just saying. You guys could have had a good president.
Could have, would have, should have.
Yeah,
but didn't.
Look what you did. Look what you did. Joe Biden's fine. But he's just fine. He's fine. But look, I think it is a super interesting issue. I'm wondering if another state can figure out other rules to use against this, right? Like, here's one. If you're a Democratic governor and you want to really stick it to Republicans, do a similar bill to this and the Texas abortion ban for voting, for voter rights protection, right? Instead of you get sued if you're manufacturing or selling, or selling these guns, maybe you get sued $10,000 for every time, for like every instance or every day that you try to impede an election, right? Like if you try to falsify information or you try to bring litigation and everything else that is on its face false, that they deem is false, then you get sued for that. And everyone that's involved in it, they also get sued, right? Like you want to spread the big lie? Cool. Then we hit every single one of them. By the way, I think $10,000 is too little. Like you hit everybody with $100,000 fine, right? Like down the line, it's like the lawyers, the legal assistants. You hit everybody. Everybody down the line gets hit.
Yeah,
I guarantee it'll stop.
The flip side of this coin is you're seeing Republican states. I can't remember what state it was, but like some legislator in a Republican state was like, "Ooh, like in this with this abortion ban, like now we can do the same thing and pass a law that if you catch a teacher teaching critical race theory, that you could sue the teacher $10,000 in this." So like you're going to see the same bullshit on the conservative side of the aisle as well.
Yeah, no, we are hastening for this country to break up.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you start to do that, you start to destroy all semblance of a single country. Like you have just destroyed it, right? And this law, which is why I don't think they will actually, if they have to rule on it, like
which they will. They left it in place. They left it in. No, they didn't rule yet. They left the law in place.
Right. They rejected the injunction, basically.
Correct. So because they've heard the arguments, and now we just have to wait till June before we hear the ruling. So.
Right. I mean, I don't see it lasting because, again, what you then create are 50 states doing wildly different things.
Right.
On not like, oh, well, you can, here are the speed limits in these different like towns. Like those are Mickey Mouse shit. Like you can have abortions or someone can just hunt you down and sue you for tens of thousands of dollars. Like that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
And again, if you start to have the blue states start to crack down majorly on gun manufacturers, oh no, they can't have that. There's no way.
I mean, Sotomayor's argument during like when this case was being heard was literally like, do you want states to just do end runs around the Constitution? Because this is how you get states to do end runs around the Constitution. It's like if we allow this to happen, like you're opening the floodgates, and it's going to happen to stuff that you agree with, and it's going to happen to stuff that you don't agree with, and all across the board, you're going to have people and states passing laws for shit because they're just like to put bounties on people essentially because they know that passing a law banning the thing that they don't like outright wouldn't pass constitutional muster. But they're like, oh, well, we're not enforcing the law. The citizens are. It's insane. Yeah. It's a libertarian's dream, Jay. So, that's what it is.
So every other thinking person's nightmare. Got it.
Yeah.
that's yikes. I mean, one of the weird things is you could also do this with freedom of speech, right? Like, if you
can do it with literally anything. Right. If all of a sudden, you say, a soldier knocks on your door and you're like, and he's like, can I stay at your house for the night? And you're like, no. And then your neighbor's like, oh, you denied a soldier the ability to be quartered in your home? I'm going to sue you for $10,000.
Yeah, Third Amendment, bitch. That's right. We're coming. The dreaded Third Amendment.
That's what I'm anticipating. So.
Yeah. No quarter. Like, but you could do it with the First Amendment. Hey, sure. In my, super blue state, I have decided that anybody who does hate speech will get sued. Okay. Yeah. You cool with that, Supreme Court? Like, we cool with it? Because that seems a little nutty. That seems a little nutty to allow that. But what you're saying is that citizens, as long as they're allowed to sue somebody, then it's fine. Mm-hmm. Right? That's a fundamental right they have. That's fucking pretty cool. Crazy.
It'd be pretty cool if you see a pastor in a church like endorse a political candidate during their sermon. So,
I like that. I like that idea. Like you say anything political in a church, they can just sue you.
That's right. Are you paying taxes? No. All right.
You are now.
Let's go, buddy.
Are now. Look, I'm telling you, you're going to make situations that type of shit's going to happen. If I was a liberal governor in a very blue state, I would be like, look, if you pass this, I will make sure that these people pay state taxes. Do something. I dare you. And like you said, if the Supreme Court upholds this, states will just do end runs around them and do whatever they want. So what stops them from even listening to, there's nothing that stops them from deciding to just ignore the Supreme Court. Okay.
We're fast moving there in the first place. Like I'm waiting for some ruling to come down because I don't feel like liberals will do it. I feel like it's going to be conservatives that just like get a ruling and some red ass state just like fuck it. Like we're just going to do this shit anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, and
I mean, fuck, we're about to do it. We're about to do it with presidential elections in a couple of years. So, why not just any old law?
Just get rid of it.
Yeah, people voted for the Democrat. Agree to disagree.
Yeah. No. Don't.
Yeah.
Water under the bridge.
Yeah. We have actual ballots though. Man, they were wrong. Those guys were wrong. They made the wrong choice. This is the right choice.
It's not. Oh, I didn't even put the fucking PowerPoint presentation up on the docket. Yeah.
I mean, it all falls under the Mark Meadows.
It does. It does.
Umbrella.
So let's talk about Mark Meadows now. Oh, Marcus, what have you done? Apparently, Mark Meadows decided that he was just going to give the committee his access to his text messages that he was receiving on January 6th. And boy, are they damning?
Here before we get into this, I just want to kind of walk through the Mark Meadows timeline with the January 6th commission, because it's really fucking funny, because it's like Mark Meadows doesn't want to cooperate. Okay, well, we're gonna charge Steve Bannon with contempt for not cooperating. Ooh, that doesn't seem fun. I'm gonna cooperate now. Here's all these things. Here's all these text messages. Here's all these documents. All these other things. All right, you're gonna come testify, right? No, I don't think I'm gonna come testify. I can't talk about this stuff because it's privileged. So you're gonna have to hold me in contempt. Oh wait, but I wrote a book, so let me go talk about these things that I think are privileged that I wrote down in my book, and now I'm gonna go on to right-wing talk shows to talk about my book and talk about the things that are in my book that I can't talk about with you, the select committee, because they're privileged. But they're in my book. You can have the privilege of paying $19.99 to buy my book.
That's all the privilege he was talking about. Like,
meanwhile, reporters are just like, well, we're just going to read the book and just report on the things.
He's like, damn it!
Like, it's not. It's like
that doesn't.
This is going to be.
He's like, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen on the right. Like, I didn't know you guys read. That's fucking unfair.
There was someone who tweeted at Adam Kinzinger, like how did the government get his text messages anyway? And Kinzinger like replied to them like, he gave them to us. Like, that's how we have them, because he handed them over. It's not like we're not spying on him. Like, we're just like, can we have these? And he's like, yeah, sure. I saved them all just in case.
To try to cover my ass. Look,
right.
Let's talk about some of these because they are pretty damning. Where are these text messages? It's just like, dude, did you guys think you were going to get away with this? Like, yeah, I guess they did. So here's some of the text messages that he received. Quote, "Hey, Mark, protesters are literally storming the Capitol, breaking windows on doors, rushing in. Is Trump going to say something?" Another one, "We are under siege up here at the Capitol." Another, "They have breached the Capitol." Another, "There's an armed standoff at the House chamber door." That's where Ashley Babbitt got fucking shot. Good. Next, "We are all helpless." Then there were dozens of texts, including from Trump officials, urging immediate action on the president. Quote, "POTUS has to come out firmly and tell protesters to dissipate. Someone is going to get killed." Yeah, it turns out. More than a single someone. Next, Mark, he needs to stop this now. In all capital letters, "Tell them to go home." Another, "POTUS needs to calm this shit down." Excuse me. And then you get multiple ones from Fox News host who said, Laura Ingraham specifically, "Hey, Mark, the president needs to tell people in the Capitol to go home. This is hurting all of us. He is destroying his legacy." Brian Kilmeade says, "Please get him on TV, destroying everything you have accomplished." Sean Hannity says, "Can he make a statement? Ask people to leave the Capitol?" Yeah, even Don Jr. texted Mark Meadows and said, "He's got to condemn this shit ASAP. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough."
That's my favorite. My favorite part of this whole fucking endeavor is Don Jr. appealing to Mark Meadows as if he doesn't have his dad's fucking text messages, and as if he isn't his fucking son, that he could be like, "Dad, what the fuck are you doing? Why the fuck are you allowing this shit to go on? Like, can't you call your pops? Wouldn't you have more sway than some political hack that he appointed to serve alongside him?"
Apparently not, which is really fucking hilarious to me. But yeah, apparently Don Jr. doesn't have as much clout with Trump.
He probably texted it like Donald Trump never saved his son's number in his phone. He gets the reply back like, "New phone, who dis?"
It's your son. "Hello, Eric. Your other son."
Hello, Bannon. Hello, Bannon.
No, the other one. Ivanka. Like, no. Like, God damn it. I'm the smart one. I find it incredibly fascinating.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, I think the the idea of these text messages existing is crazy, but I think it's also just the tip of the iceberg, right? You know, a lot of people thought the Jan 6 committee was going to be bullshit and not really be able to have any teeth, but like they've found a lot so far, right? There's a lot of answers that still need to be, a lot of questions that still need to be answered, but I do appreciate the idea that they're really going for it, right? They did vote like 222 to 208 or something like that for holding Mark Meadows in contempt of Congress, which is pretty good.
Oh, did it actually get the full vote in the House?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
I think it was last night, maybe.
I know it made it past the Rules Committee on party lines. I wasn't sure if the full House vote had happened to that point. So, but we'll see what happens with the Justice Department. Again, like the biggest frustration, we talked about it last week, is that the actual dragging of the feet with the process here is infuriating. Like, it shouldn't take 3 weeks to decide for DOJ to decide if they're going to indict him. It shouldn't take several months after that to get him in front of a judge.
Like, come on, dude. Like, again, if this was a petty drug dealer, you'd have this shit done like too sweet. Yeah, it was 222 to 208 with Kissinger and Liz Cheney, the only Republicans to, of course, vote for it.
Of course. Which
is hilarious because, again, he was cooperating with them and then decided not to. And you're now what? You're cool with that? Like, that's bullshit. And it's obviously been pretty explosive. I do think there is part of this that's tip of the iceberg because we still have information that is unanswered about, like, people have burner phones. Why do they have burner phones? You're not going to try to convince me that if the FBI wanted to get that information off of those burner phones, they couldn't find them. Mm-hmm. I find it hard to believe. Like, and that's not like they can do anything, but like, they have crazy technology that could find shit like that. Like, like we still don't know did Lauren Boebert give like tours around the Capitol? There's cameras everywhere. What do you mean we don't know?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, just because we don't know doesn't mean that DOJ doesn't know. Like, it's quite possible that they are building a very strong case for a lot of, in a lot of respects right now, and we're just not getting that information publicly, which would be amazing, quite frankly, because that place leaks like a fucking sieve. So, like I would expect something to come out by now. Right. There's so much about this whole situation that I find remarkable because, like, I look back on, like, Mark Meadows was arguably, for a time, the most powerful Republican in the House of Representatives. Like, Paul Ryan was the speaker, but Mark Meadows was the leader of the Freedom Caucus, aka the biggest pain in the ass in Paul Ryan's side for a large chunk of time that Paul Ryan was speaker. And then even when Kevin McCarthy became the minority leader, Mark Meadows was still there being a pain in the ass. And he had a lot of sway, had a lot of influence. He's someone that easily could have challenged McCarthy for leadership. He's someone that easily could have challenged for speakership one day. And he's just like, I'm going to go be chief of staff. And not the chief of staff is some like fucking, fly-by-night position. Like, that's a very, very powerful position in the government. Right. But you're going to be chief of staff for this inept moron who clearly, is not equipped for the job, and you can't see that, but then maybe you're an inept moron that is not actually equipped for the job in the position that you're in as well.
I don't think Mark Meadows is under any impression that Trump is smart. I think that he realizes that Trump is powerful enough to sway people, and I think he just wants to be in that sphere. Like, I don't think Lindsey Graham thinks Trump is smart. I don't. I mean,
I know Lindsey Graham doesn't think Trump is smart.
No, like, because he's told his real views on Trump during the primary when he didn't think Trump was going to win. He's like, I think he's crazy. Like, yeah, he is crazy. But then when he got elected,
I think he's a kook.
A kook. My God. What do you people do? If we vote Donald Trump in, we deserve everything's going to happen to us. Like, yeah, you're right, dude. Like, you're 100% right. And you deserve worse, honestly. You deserve definitely worse. Yeah, he's been a no-show, which is interesting. Like, he just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. Just slowly.
He was there. Like what he was, I think, like Chris Wallace's last interview on Fox Sunday, and basically he was like, Democrats are trying to blow a hole in the deficit with Build Back Better and say it's paid for and it's not. And Chris Wallace is like, yeah, you didn't care when you were raising taxes for rich people, though. That's completely different, Chris Wallace. I don't know what, like, he was like losing his shit.
How dare you?
Hilarious.
I can't believe you're leaving Fox News, this liberal station.
It's also fascinating to me, like, watching Republicans in the House uniformly block this stuff. And goddamn, like, for a fucking party that claims to be pro-democracy, even though they obviously aren't, they are doing everything they can to shift as much power to the executive branch as they possibly can. Like, it's like you want an autocrat. Like you just want some, and it's like you've said forever, like they need a daddy to tell them what to do. Like they really, truly do. Like they can't, even the people that are elected to make those decisions for us are not up to the task.
I mean,
are not able to do it.
Okay. So the best way I can think about that point is like them wanting the daddy. Like, where does that really come from? I think it comes from the ideology sort of pushes that, because the ideology is so deeply rooted, like modern conservatism, right? Like in the like our parents' generation forward, right? Because what the version of conservatism that we are seeing is like Reagan forward, right? For the most part. The need for a daddy or this authoritarian, I think, comes from like where the movement really got its, like, where it's obsessed, where it's obsessed in history, which is like the very 1940s, 1950s America. Like they're hard obsessed with that Leave It to Beaver type of bullshit. And there's always a strong father figure, right? Who's like, I'll handle everything. Little woman, you go make the dinner. I'll go into the office. Like, kids, better to be seen, not heard. Like that type of shit. And I feel like they're so incredibly obsessed with that idea that they can't fathom a world where both parents would be equal. Like they can't, right? So that's why they can't fathom women being equal to them. I'm serious. Like it all comes from this deep-seated desire to have that Norman Rockwell, like, cutting a turkey at Christmas time fucking horseshit. Like that's not what America really ever was. Like that's the great irony of those images. Like they're like, oh, that's how it was, and it was perfect. Yeah, for like maybe 5 rich ass families, but everybody else was dealing with a bunch of shit in this country, white people included, right? So like it's just nonsense. But they are so obsessed with this ideal that it bleeds into their entire philosophy, which is like, I need someone to tell me what to do because I'm scared I'm going to make the wrong decision, right? Or I have to go it alone, and these questions are very hard. So I don't want to have to think about it. Hey, Dad, what do you want me to do? I want you to storm the Capitol. No problem. Right? That's it. So that's why they're so easily manipulated, right? If you're always looking for someone to control you, when someone just stands up with a level of authority, whether it's earned or not, you just go, well, shit, I respect that. This guy's talking tough. I love it.
Like I said, it's just so wild. Even to like people like us who clearly see how fucked up all this is, but we're still not walking around in like a state of panic constantly. Like that's kind of bizarre to me. Even though I'm sure like people there's probably a lot of people in Europe that are just like looking over here that are just like, this is not good. Like we've seen all this before. Like it's not the path you want to go down. I don't think. So I don't know.
It's hard to imagine that they're not thinking that, because it's really terrifying, right? Like it looks like we are headed down a very fascist road, and I don't even know what to say to that besides like, yeah, probably. Yeah, like we need a Hail Mary.
And again, you only get a chance to elect one dictator. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, the rest of it's a fight. That's it. The rest of it's a fucking fight. So yeah, the text messages are really, really quite fascinating. What did you think about the fact that Fox News people like Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity and Brian Kilmeade all have a line into Mark Meadows' private number? I think is odd.
I mean, are you surprised?
That I'm not surprised.
All surprised?
I'm not surprised. It's just fucking odd, right? Like I noticed that like people aren't making enough hay about that. Like that's fucking strange.
I mean, they really aren't. Like again, not to steal Micah's fucking gimmick, but can you imagine
trademark
can you imagine if, like, we found text messages from the Obama White House and it's like, oh, Rachel Maddow texting the president, like, right. Mr. President, sir, like, you need to do this, that, or the other thing. Like,
and like he listened. He like, oh, yeah,
right.
What? Like, go back to TV. Like, all right, Rachel, you're great, but like, relax. Like, I'm not taking text messages from you.
Well, and it just lends, like you said, we should be making more of a deal because it lends credence to that, you know, the idea that Fox News is actually running the Republican Party, and in many ways they fucking are. Like, it's like this weird Ouroboros, but you don't really know where Fox ends and Trump begins because they all just constantly feed into each other. And that goes for the Republican Party as well. Like, it's been longer than Trump being on the scene.
No, absolutely. So. And it's interesting because, like, so there's that aspect, right? Which is they're way too close. But there's also another aspect, which is these guys never mentioned the left, Antifa, any of that in these private text messages. But they get on television and they're like, that night.
Covering it.
Yeah, well, it might be Antifa. It might be. No, dude, you knew who it was. Why are you asking Trump to call it off? What power does Trump have over Antifa? None. You knew who these people were.
There's a clip online going around from Hannity last night. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it, but I caught like the Cliff Notes version. So Hannity's interviewing Geraldo and Dan Bongino simultaneously.
Oh God!
And like Geraldo like calls out Sean Hannity. He's like, you need to have that same kind of attitude that you had when you were texting Mark Meadows during the day on January 6th. And fucking Dan Bongino and Sean Hannity lost their fucking minds on Geraldo for even bringing it up, for even mentioning it. Because again, it's not enough to, you know, like you can't publicly be seen as going against or defying Trump in any way, shape, or form, and to do that is a betrayal in and of itself. So like they're beating up on Geraldo for even bringing up the fact that this report came out.
But like, dude, it came out. Like it did,
right?
Like,
and it happened.
Yeah,
and it existed.
Look. I don't even. The funny thing is, I'm not mad about the text. Mm-hmm. The text for Sean Hannity is a reasonable one. Dude, get on TV and tell these people to fucking knock it off. The problem is when you went on television, you're like, yeah, I don't know, maybe it was Antifa. But that's how gullible they know their audience is. That they can literally say one thing and then change their mind.
Well, and again, even confronted with this, Fox News viewers be like, well, it's fake, obviously. Like these aren't real text messages because this isn't a real committee. Like even confronted with facts and showing and basically them, you know, showing them that Santa Claus isn't real. They're just like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I like they told
nice try.
They told me not to believe my lying eyes. I'm not going to fall for this, you sons of bitches.
Yeah, it's like
it was the final and most essential command. So.
Yeah, that's right. But it's just amazing. It's amazing how they just were like, yeah, this is the opposite. You know, if they had any real inkling or real thoughts that it was Antifa or some leftist group pretending to be Trump supporters, there is no way they wouldn't have mentioned that in their private messages. It's impossible. It's impossible to think that they wouldn't.
It's just also like really lays bare something else that we know, and that is like how these power brokers view their own constituents. Like they really are just meat for the fucking grinder.
Yep.
To make the sausage of conservatism, like it's, and there you go, the sausage of conservatism is your show title for this week. Probably,
I like it.
I can't think of anything that's going to top that. But like they literally, these people are literally just the fucking meat shields that are necessary to throw out onto the fucking pile to sacrifice at the altar of conservatism.
Conservatism,
like that's it
in quotes.
Right. Well, of what they define conservatism as, like that they don't care about you. Like they're willing to lie to you incessantly, and despite facts coming forward that show that they're lying, they'll just continue to lie and just continue to ignore it, and you'll continue to believe it because they need you to, because that's the only way that they're going to keep their hold on power, that the money is going to keep flowing, and they don't give a fuck about you. Well, I'm not going to sit here and be like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and altruistically believe that, you know, that Democrats in power are, you know, any more enlightened, I guess you can say, but like they're also not sacrificing the bodies of their constituents to advance their ideals.
They quite literally are not. But yeah, Republicans are like, I just saw a COVID-19 statistic today. It was like,
yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, like 96% of Democrats are vaccinated. It was like 54% of Republicans. Okay. Yeah. And it was like 30% of Republicans said they're never getting the vaccine. All right.
What I was waiting for
cheers to you.
That article,
good luck.
Yeah. What I was waiting for from that article was like, here's how Joe Biden has failed. Given this information, here's how Joe Biden has
like
failed.
It's Joe Biden's fault. He can't force a bunch of thinking adults to do something logical and reasonable. All right, sure. You're right. It's definitely his fault. Meanwhile, Republicans are like, it is his fault. Why aren't people getting vaccinated? Like, because you guys are yelling at them to not get vaccinated? All right, cool. Like, don't worry about it. So then there's another thing that I forgot to mention this. When I talked about, like, these are some questions that need to be answered, like, we don't have answers about the Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene doing the tours, right? But there's another thing that we don't have an answer to, which is a number of weeks ago, they found out that Mike Pence was standing on a shipping dock in the Capitol basement trying to make phone calls because all of his keycard access and his staff's keycard access had been turned off. That's not an untraceable thing. I have worked on security systems before. Every time you use a card or a pin or whatever to pass through a locked door, there is a record of that. When people change your access, there is a record of that so that they can say, oh, John Smith, the security guard, changed Billy, the accountant's access. So you can tie it back and find out. I find it hard to believe that the security access at the Capitol is less sophisticated than that. That's an easy thing to find out, right? Whoever turned that off should go to fucking prison.
DOJ knows.
Yeah, but the person who did that should go to prison, right? Or like, why were you instructed to do that? And so another thing was Meadows said that the National Guard would be ready to, quote, protect pro-Trump people before the Capitol insurrection. That's super interesting, but it also brings up another point, and I'm going to go back to this article because it's a fascinating point. But it brings up another. Before you
get to your point, let me set you up by asking you a question. How would they know who is who? How could they tell?
I wonder. If only there was a way to know who the fucking psychos were. Was Antifa on the scene wearing their Antifa bright highlighter yellow jackets so that they don't get hit by cars when jogging at night that are just labeled Antifa on the back? Like, is that a thing that was happening? It's their members only coats. Antifa only. We're so cool. But we're not an organization. Relax. So this article makes me think of something else. And I saw a tweet that was so simplistic and so accurate, I had not thought about the point. If you're wondering whether or not Trump is personally responsible for sending these people to the Capitol or inspiring them to go to the Capitol to hurt Democrats and to destroy the democratic process, you only have to ask one question. Why wasn't the president scrambled out of Washington, D.C. when this was happening? Think about it. The Capitol is under siege by random people, and they seem to be breaking in and possibly trying to kill members of Congress. But they don't scramble the president to Air Force One and get him in the air? They leave him in D.C.?
Jay, it's not like he has a helicopter at his beck and call that he can just fucking get the hell out of Dodge.
Get the hell out of there.
At the snap of fingers.
Where was he? He was in D.C. He never moved. To me, that's the most, like, dude, that's the Trump card. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you can't just be like, well, I'm just going to, don't take me anywhere. I'm going to go. Like, where was Secret Service? The Secret Service isn't going to be like, all right, sir, it's cool, just stay here. Like, no, they're like, dude, get in the air. When 9/11 happened, you know where George W. Bush was? He was in a plane somewhere we don't know. Because the first thing that came out is the president is safe. The president is in a is on Air Force One in a nondescript location. Above the clouds, motherfucker. Like, yeah, they got his ass. That was like the only plane flying at that point. They were like, ground everything and get this guy in the air. Yet the president was never scrambled out of DC, and the Capitol is under siege. All right, go ahead, Republicans, figure that one out for me, because I'd love to hear your explanation. Because it doesn't make any sense. I would assume that the president was like, they were like, all right, we need to go. And he was like, oh, I don't need to go anywhere. They're not after me.
These are my people.
Yeah. They got
These
Trump
are my
flags.
friends.
Yeah, they got Trump flags tied around their fucking necks like stupid superheroes. They're fine.
These idiots all bought MAGA hats at the rally that I whipped them up into a frenzy to send them to the Capitol.
$11.99 a piece.
Let's march to the Capitol.
$11.99 a piece. Thank you very much. Made in China.
Made in China. Made in China.
So when I saw that tweet, I was like, Jesus Christ, it's so fucking. It's such an accurate point. It's a simple one. Too.
I whipped him up and sent him there and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So
I would love to know why they didn't scramble him. That feels fucking weird to me. So yeah. But this article goes into the idea that they were going to have the National Guard protect Trump people. That's pretty telling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why? Who made the argument that the National Guard is supposed to protect Trump people? Somebody had that forethought.
If this was and also like the question that you have to ask there, if this was a spontaneous protest, as you all allege that it was, like, why would you need days in advance to make sure the National Guard is mobilized?
Right. Again, these are questions that absolutely need to be asked, and they demand an answer. Like, we were. Former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows sent an email saying the National Guard would be present to protect pro-Trump people in the lead up to the U.S. Capitol insurrection. It was just one of several new details in the report about Meadows' actions before and during January 6th. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, we're starting to get close to the point where, I think we're actually well past it. Like, people got to go to prison, right? Like, for real prison. Not like for 5 years. Like, for real prison. Because at this point, how long are we going to pretend the dots don't connect?
Right. And when you say people, I'm not talking about, and you're not talking about, like, the people that were storming the Capitol. Like, you're talking about the people that were planning things and putting these plans in motion.
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
Yes to both of those. But yeah, I mean, in this case, I'm referring to the people who planned it. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. The National Guard was there to protect them? Why? And what kind of sense does that make? The National Guard's going to stand there and let them destroy the Capitol?
Yeah.
Like, I can't even fathom the logic by which these guys are like chatting it up. Like, oh, well, then the National Guard will come in and protect them. From who?
That's because there is no logic to it. Like, again, you have to remember, the thing you always have to remember is that none of these people are very smart. We were saved with amazing amounts of ineptitude at the highest positions of power within the government, which is why it's so scary that it could happen again, because, Trump, like, next time it might not be a Trump, it might be someone way smarter. So they were just kind of like spitballing, like we've seen from all this communication, all this back and forth, talking about, oh, we're going to install Jeffrey Clark at DOJ, and that's going to be awesome because he's going to do this, and fucking Trump calling, Brad Raffensperger and yelling at him and saying, hey, we need to find these votes. They didn't have an actual plan. They were just like, let's try this. Well, let's try this. No. Like they just kept like finding shit for 2 months just to try. And they're like, hopefully one of these things will work. Like they were literally spitballing in real time. That's all they were doing.
With our democracy. Oh, good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Right. And what happened on January 6th ultimately was the culmination of that. Because, like I said, they're like, well, the last thing we could do is have the people rally outside and show their displacement, and that'll scare Mike Pence. And it got away from him. I don't truly think that anyone on the Trump, that was in that orbit was planning on them breaking into the fucking Capitol and storming the place. But they definitely wanted to create an environment of fear. They definitely wanted to create an environment of unease for the people that were making decisions to try to sway them into doing the political thing they wanted them to do. There is a word for that. I'm struggling to think of what it is. It does start with a T, I believe, and end with an errorism. But like I said, I trying to figure out what the term for using fear to steer your political motives is.
Well, in fairness, Brad, to quote a person who I think is a totally reasonable individual and not a psychopath at all, Batman in the new upcoming Batman movie says, fear is a weapon. And
true.
He's right. It is a weapon. And that's what they're trying to do. That's what terrorism is, right? Batman's a fucking terrorist, by the way. Like, hello. He's a domestic terrorist. I love Batman, my favorite character, but he's a domestic fucking terrorist, right? Like, that's what he does.
It's true.
But I like when he just like breaks a guy's arm for carrying a nickel bag of weed. Like, dude, just let me go. It's fine. It's legal now. Relax. But it is terrorism, right? And it's this idea that you wanted to send these people to scare Mike Pence and to scare these people into complacency is fucking terrorism. It is. It's domestic terrorism, right? And then to think that you could get these people there and somehow control them is it's ludicrous to think that, especially in hindsight, but it's also I feel like it's indicative of what's happening to the Republican Party anyway. It's like they have built up these monsters like on the religious right and these militia guys and all this other stuff. They have in just general run-of-the-mill racists. They've built all of these people and also just regular Republican ignoramuses. Like they've made this soup and they've built all this power behind them. And then they're like, let's all walk right up to the door and then be reasonable and vote for me, and you guys never say anything, and I'll get in power. But that's not what's happening now. The crazies are taking over the asylum, right? Like, you don't have a Marjorie Taylor Greene or a Lauren Boebert if you didn't have a Donald Trump.
Right.
Right?
Well, and,
it's
and
gotten
again,
so crazy that's attracted more
get.
nutballs.
But that's what you get when you install a narcissistic sociopath as the head of your party. Like Trump could have easily stopped said something to quell what was going on at the Capitol on January 6th. But what is it that he told Kevin McCarthy when Kevin McCarthy called him and was like, you got to put a fucking end to this? He was like, well, maybe they're just angry about it, Kevin, than you are. Maybe they care more than you do about it. That was literally his response to a fucking armed insurrection.
Yep. Because, again, he has always wanted, like all those other people are like, no, maybe they didn't really want what happened. He did. Make no mistake. He was 100% fine with Mike Pence being killed that day. 100%. You betrayed him. That's a loyalty thing. Like, he's a loyalty guy above all else. Like, he is. He would have been like, yeah, kill Mike Pence. I don't give a shit. He doesn't care about anyone, dude.
Great segue into the next story.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. Next up, the end of the fascist bromance. You want to take this one?
Oh, sure. So, yeah, apparently Donald Trump and his BFF, Bibi Netanyahu, on the outs now for Bibi Netanyahu doing the crime, doing the fucking, the most unthinkable thing that you could ever fucking imagine. Do you know what Bibi Netanyahu did, Jay? Do you know what he did to draw the ire of Donald Trump? And make it so that they're not friends anymore?
I do not.
That son of a bitch, when the election was called for Joe Biden, had the nerve to call Joe Biden and congratulate him for his victory. Can you believe that?
Brad, this is a show for children. Okay, you can't say such disgusting things. My God. Yeah, it's a clown show, man. It's a fucking clown show. He has the ego of a man 50 times his size, like a Paul Bunyan style ego, but he is so fucking frail. He's so fragile.
Here's the quote. Ready? No, nobody did more for BB. And I like BB. I still like BB. But I also like loyalty. BB could have stayed quiet. He's made a terrible mistake.
I love that he thinks that he's going to somehow affect Benjamin Netanyahu's
Benjamin
Netanyahu.
By the way, not currently the prime minister.
What does he give a fuck?
Just FYI.
Yeah, that party is fucking done.
In case you forgot. But yeah, so his basically thing is Trump believes that he did more for Israel than anyone else ever has in the history of mankind. So how dare Bibi Netanyahu not call Joe Biden and be like, fuck you, Joe Biden, you fucking piece of shit. Like, does he not realize that Netanyahu was trying to get reelected and was then going to have to deal with Joe Biden? So you don't want to get started on the wrong foot with the guy that you're going to have to be talking to for the next couple of years, potentially.
Again, crazy. Just he's a crazy person. Trump is a crazy person, quite literally nuts. But good. God bless.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically he said that he hasn't spoken to Netanyahu since that happened, and fuck him, he said. Trump said about BB.
Fuck him? Is that what he said?
Fuck him, literally.
Literally.
That was the quote. Yes. Yep.
Nice language. Remember that time when Eric Trump was like, it's so offensive that people use harsh language. I'm like, yeah, dude, your dad never does this. Shut the fuck up, Eric. Shut the fuck up. Next up, Pelosi rejects stock trading ban from members of Congress. Quote, we are a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that. Hey, Nancy, shut the fuck up. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, this is so fucking
stupid.
Talk about not reading the room. Talk about being tone deaf, out of touch. All the progressive criticisms that get levied at Nancy Pelosi. This is why a lot of them are fair sometimes, because she says dumb shit like this. I just can't fathom seeing how many times we've seen Congress people get in trouble for insider trading. Just the fact that the lobbying industry, like the pathway from Congress to lobbyists is a revolving door.
Right.
The fact that we have seen a relative lack of accountability for Congress, and the fact that Congress, when he would have their, well, at least Democrats would, if they had their way, would pass a law to force presidents to place their financial holdings into a blind trust while they're president. To me, this is the same thing.
It's no different. There's no different.
Yeah, there's no daylight between not putting your holdings in a blind trust and not participating in the stock market when you have influence over the ebbs and flows of the stock market through legislation and policy that you pass.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly obvious the conflict of interest, right? Like you said, you control what is possibly the ebbs and flows of the stock market, but you also just have insider information, right? The woman who lost to Raphael Warnock, I can't remember her name. She got busted. She made like $1 million or some shit like that because, one, her husband runs the New York Stock Exchange, which is fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. But the second she learned that all the information about the pandemic was coming up and how possibly all of these businesses would be shut down, she went home and was like, yo, I'm buying mad stocks of like Cisco and like all of this stuff that had like VPN software. So she, even if she's not using even if she's not legislating the like push down this company or push up another company or something like that, she also just has outsized information that's just not fair. Sure. That's basically insider trading. Like,
it's quite literally insider trading. If you
they threw Martha Stewart in jail for that.
Yeah, like if you, not a congressperson, were the recipient of that information and you didn't tell anybody, then the person who gave it to you would be getting a phone call from their friends at the SEC being like, what the fuck? Like what the hell do you think is happening?
Right. So I just, that to me is like, that's nonsense. Like, come on. And again, you're not reading the room. People like liberals and Democratic voters think that you shouldn't do this. The only reason you're advocating for this is because I like money. That's
right.
it.
And her husband trades a shitload of stocks, and they're very wealthy because of it. Like that's literally what this boils down to. Now she did try to hedge this by saying, oh, like people need to follow all the reporting policies and disclosures and stuff like that. But there's an easier way to solve that problem, and that's just to not fucking do about it. Sir, like what's the thing that people say all the time? Service is sacrifice. Well, guess what? If you're going to serve the country, that's cool. But I think you could just live on the government salary and not worry about playing the financial ponies, as it were.
Yeah, just put your shit into a blind trust and be done with it for the time that you're there. Look, maybe that'll keep you motherfuckers from being there for 40 years.
Yeah, maybe. Who'd have thought, right?
Yeah. Look, they might get you. Hey, like, you know what? I'm gonna do 8 years. I'm gonna do 6 years. I'm done. Right? Like, cool.
Yeah,
get the fuck out.
Turns out if you restrict the ability and different ways that people in government can make shitloads of money, maybe they just won't hang out there forever. And people say, oh, then you won't get the best and brightest of society. That's okay. Like, let the best.
We
and
don't have
brightest
the
go
best and
work
the
in
brightest
private
now.
sector.
We don't
That's
have the
true.
best and the brightest. Is
That's
Chuck
also a good
Grassley
point.
the best and the brightest? Been there 100 years. Get out of here.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Maybe he was back in 1952, but I don't think he is. Probably not. But again, let the best. If you want to make money, like go work in the private sector. They'd love to have you.
Right.
Like,
Nobody's telling you can't.
Yeah,
just get the fuck out of government. Like that shit is unacceptable to me. So, she's wrong. She's 100% wrong on this one.
Yeah.
Like there's no if and or buts about it. Like you are protecting a system that is just used to make people rich. That's it. There's no benefit. There's no benefit to any member of Congress to doing this besides making more money.
There's barely a benefit to fucking companies for doing it at this point. I don't understand if you are a very successful private company. Well, I mean, I don't understand the ins and outs of the stock market. Like, I'm not an economist, but like, what's the real benefit to like going public as a very successful private company?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you're spreading. I guess you're spreading wealth across. Like you're distributing wealth. I have no idea. I'm not a financial expert.
Yeah,
I have very few stocks because I have very little money. I'm not a Wall Street bets guy. Like I don't. It's just not a thing I'm particularly all that interested in. I'd rather just invest in things like CDs and stuff that are actually not compact discs, like financial CDs. You fucking millennials. But like a Walkman? No, not a Walkman. But I would rather invest in those kind of things or mutual funds because I know those things will actually pay dividends. I don't want to try to bet all my money on a fucking horse. As David Cross once said, it's like playing the stock market is like going to the track and betting all your money on Papa's mustache. Like, come on, Papa's mustache, we gonna do it. And it's like, oh, Papa's mustache lost. Oh, well, I guess you got no fucking money. Like, all right, well, that's it.
I mean, like I said, for the lay person, it literally is. That's it.
It's just gambling.
Like, it literally is.
It's just gambling.
That's just gambling.
And rich people have fucking rigged it, and they know what they're doing. And guess what? You can't get in. It's a fact. You can't get in. Yeah, no, dude. They have software that they've developed that buys and sells stocks in nanoseconds. So if it drops by 4 cents, they buy it. If it goes up by 1 cent, they buy it. You know what I mean? They sell it, so forth. Like, they are guaranteed to make money because an algorithm moves faster than you do. Like, oh, maybe I'll figure it out. No, dude. Get a Bloomberg terminal, and then you can try to figure it out. Like, that's how he got rich.
I mean, again, like look at all of the like pop culture depictions of stockbrokers.
Yeah,
like
the worst.
In the 20s, they're fucking jumping out of buildings. In the fucking 80s, they're like the scum of the fucking earth, all with coke habits, none of them in stable relationships. Like it's like the worst people are attracted to this fucking industry, and people celebrate it as if it's like amazing.
Right. So I have a friend who lives in New York. Who is one of the sweetest guys I know. And he worked at a brokerage firm for a while, right? And he said that like the stuff on Wolf of Wall Street is so fucking accurate, it's insane. Like,
yeah,
strippers coming to the office when they like make big sales or have big accomplishment months or something, like full on nudity, like dudes like massive coked out dudes, like just crazy, just all ego, id.
Because you're literally working in like the Las Vegas of the white collar industry, essentially. Like that's basically what you're doing. So it comes with all the accoutrement of Vegas.
And who doesn't love Vegas? Well, we already talked about Policy Grandma coming out for the SCOTUS.
We did.
So
we go from one Nancy to another Nancy.
So Brad, you're not a big Marvel fan.
No.
You're a heathen. But there's a new Spider-Man movie coming out. And the question has long been, who is the sixth member of the seemingly sinister six that Spider-Man is going to have to take on in this new movie? Obviously Green Goblin is back, and a number of other villains. I think I figured out the sixth villain. It's the Knob Gobbler, played by Nancy Reagan. Apparently Nancy Reagan was just chugging dick on the MGM studio back in the day. Now I know what you're thinking. Why are we bringing up poor, just say no, Nancy Reagan? Well, because fuck her, that's why.
Well, no, the reason it got brought up.
Oh, no, I know. It's in this article. Go ahead.
Yeah. The reason it got brought up is because, of course, a member of the Shapiro family had to step on a rake, basically. But for once, it wasn't young Benjamin who fucked this all shit up. It was Sister Abby.
Oh, Abigail,
who put out a tweet. Yeah, who put out a tweet with a side-by-side picture of Madonna and the Reagan family, saying, this is Madonna at 63, this is Nancy Reagan at 64. Trashy living versus classic living. Which version of yourself do you want to be? And then there were people out there that had known the story that, like, in the wake of this gaining traction, brought out the story that I can't remember what book it was in. It was in some kind of a book. Yeah. Where basically Nancy Reagan back in the 50s, before her and Ron got together, apparently was like a studio backlot war.
It was the unauthorized biography of Nancy is the name of the book.
Oh, there you go. Like you said, sucking dick all over MGM Studios. That is not in Disney World, I don't think. I don't remember the Nancy Reagan dick sucking experience
it's next to the Hall of Presidents. Or just beneath it, I guess. Look, it's funny. As spotted in June by the Washington Babylon, an unauthorized biography of Nancy published in 1992 noted that Nancy, quote, was renowned in Hollywood for performing oral sex, not only in the evening, but in offices. That was one of the reasons she was very popular on the MGM lot. Look, I find this hilarious. There is nothing better than the last week of memes about Nancy Reagan.
Oh, it's not going to stop. Much like Nancy Reagan dick sucking.
Oh, damn!
It's just not going to fucking come to an end.
Yeah, literally. Well, no, they came to an end a lot.
Well, as all things do.
Yeah, as you do. In her face. Anyway, so no, but the point here is Abigail Shapiro trying to shame women for being sexual, especially in their 60s, is ridiculous, right? I'm not even mad at Nancy Reagan. I'm not actually making fun of Nancy Reagan for blowing a bunch of dudes. I don't really give a shit. Look, good for you.
Who gives a shit? Who cares? It doesn't fucking matter.
Sounds like she was a friend to many people, right? That's awesome. But it's 2021. Why are we shaming adult women for sexual behavior? That is not she's not having sex with a kid. She's not, raping someone. They're having consensual sex with other adults. Yep. I don't give a shit. My biggest issue actually with this tweet, though, my biggest issue with this tweet as far as the Madonna thing is Madonna is way too wealthy to be sitting on that shitty, seemingly like barely a queen size bed. Was it a full? No, Madonna's got more money than that. Like, was that in someone's dorm room? Get out of here. Like Madonna,
it does look like a dorm room bed.
Yeah, like come on, ew. That part bothers me. But like, is that the life that we want to live in 2021? Is to sit and judge women for what they do sexually? I think Madonna needs to hang it up because Madonna looks ridiculous, not because she wants to be a sexual being. Like that's perfectly fine. Look, I hope I am still banging at it at 63 years old. God bless. That's awesome. But just because you're 64 doesn't mean you have to become a housefrau either. And how does she know what Nancy Reagan was doing? Like, this is a picture of her, in a bedroom. Nancy Reagan was probably chugging Ronnie's dick like crazy at 64. How do you know? You have no idea. A picture is not worth 1,000 words. A picture is a single moment in time. It means almost nothing, actually. You have no idea.
I just found it funny though too, is that again, like liberals like had a field day with this, and none of it was like at all shaming Nancy Reagan for loving to blow dicks. It was celebrating it in many, many hilarious ways.
Yes,
which like I said was excellent.
Yeah, I I had seen that meme of the guy drunk falling out of the trailer. It says every nigga coming off the MGM lot when Nancy Reagan was on set. And he's just like stumbling out. Yeah, like dude,
well, and
it's funny.
Well, and the other reason that this is funny is because like you mentioned, Nancy Reagan was very outspoken as a buttoned up, like very classic, as you said earlier in the podcast, like a Leave It to Beaver type in the 1980s, and said a lot of things shaming folks, and of course famously, did not do jack shit in her status as first lady to help quell the AIDS epidemic that was out of control,
or the crack epidemic
during the 1980s,
or the crack epidemic, right? She was a big proponent of the just say no shit, right? It was like, no, these people have an addiction. Like, this is a real problem. It's like, look, I don't have any problem with Nancy Reagan doing whatever she did when she was single or when she's married. I don't give a shit. Like, that's on her. There's nothing wrong with what she was doing. Look, you like giving blowjobs and you're good at it? Trust me, you're gonna make a lot of friends. Like, like you just will. And there's nothing wrong with that.
The thing
but I don't care for trying to shame Madonna. Like, also, it's Madonna. Madonna had a book called Sex. Like, she's fucking in the book. Like, who are you shaming? You can't shame Madonna. Madonna doesn't have any shame. Like, for sex? No, that is, dude, you are literally trying to, like, that's like shaming me for being really cool with my favorite statistic. You can't shame me for that. I love it. Fuck out of here. I am no
and that's the thing that's the other thing that was incredible to me about this. I don't really recall seeing any conservative retort to this. Like I feel like that they were like fucking like stunned at like this coming out of left field, and they could do nothing about it. Like, they're just like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is completely unexpected. Like, I mean, I was not expecting this.
I mean, the irony is they did the best thing they could, which is to not say anything, because normally they would just double down and be like, yeah, Madonna's a whore. And it was just like, all right, more Nancy Reagan sucking dick memes. Like, but if you just leave the internet alone, they'll get bored and then they'll move on. But the second, like, one of you motherfuckers says anything, like, it's a wrap. And Nancy Reagan just died too, which is a part of it, right? Like, so she's in the,
I thought she'd been dead for a while.
Oh, I thought she just died. Whatever. I don't know. I don't give a shit about Nancy Reagan. I just don't.
Oh yeah, not. I mean, I'm going to satisfy my curiosity now, but fuck that.
Yeah. So
she died in 2016.
Oh, 2016. See, I don't keep up with Nancy Reagan news. So yeah, sorry, but it's just one of those things where, like, you just got to let the internet do its thing and just keep quiet. Because if you come out with any retort, they're gonna light your ass up for it. Like, oh, Sean Hannity, you got something to say? Why, was she sucking your dick back in the day? Like, yeah, don't do that. Just shut the fuck up and let it be. Just let it be.
Again, my all-time favorite memes were all Mr. T ones that came out.
Oh, yeah, dude. There was one that said, if I was Ronald Reagan and I found out my wife was blowing Mr. T, I'd put crack in his community too. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I was like, all right, that's not bad. That's not bad. But look, man, just leave people alone. Just leave people alone. Don't go after Madonna for being sexual. Like, it's her whole bag, dude. It's her whole fucking bag. like, is Abigail Shapiro that? Well, yeah, she's probably that stupid. Also, like, look, if you want to live a life being all buttoned up or whatever, that's on you. I'm not judging you for it. You look uncomfortable, but I'm not judging you for it. Like, if somebody wants to, like, look, at 63, if your titties are still sitting up high enough that you could wear that outfit that Madonna's got on, God bless you. That's great. Good for you. Probably surgery, but whatever. Good for you. But I think Nancy Reagan looks like a buffoon in the picture that she did side by side. So not really sure what the fucking point of this was. But yeah, classically, again, Abby really walked into it for this one.
I mean, again, stop preaching your morals onto everybody else. No one cares. Nobody gives a shit. It's the same the same bullshit that the fucking evangelical right does all the fucking time. It's just like, oh, we're going to tell you how to think. Like, you're really not. Like, I don't really give a shit how you view the situation. Like, it doesn't matter to me. No. So shut up.
Yeah, just do what you want to do. Like, again, as long as it's not against the law, as long as you're not hurting somebody, enforcing them to do something against their will, and as long as they're of age, I don't give a shit.
And again, ironically, that's what they purport to want. Like that's what they purport to like be fighting for is this like, like people just be able to do what they want. Like, no, you want people to do what you want them to do. Yeah. Like do what you want as long as it falls within this box that I've carved out for you.
Yes. So. It's libertarianism, right? Like, yeah, it is, right? Oh no, we can all live in a society that we want. Okay, we want to live in a society where people come together and help each other. Well, not like that.
Not like that, yeah. like not using the government.
No. We need a Mad Max future state. That's what we need. Like, yeah, okay. That's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. We'll just be like screaming and shooting guns at each other. They're like, exactly. That's exactly
real. Like I said, I saw a few trickle down jokes. Not as many as I was expecting though, and that's a real disappointment to me.
Yeah.
So. Like it was right there for the picking.
Like a tree of dicks that Nancy was just grabbing at any branch she could get. Yeah, look, I think it's funny. I think it's hilarious to think about Nancy Reagan just being known as the best dick sucker on the MGM lot. That's just funny to me. Like, I'm sorry, it is. I'm not mad at you, but I find it. I will never forget that fact. Like, I will never forget. Like, certain political facts. Nancy Reagan was known for giving BJs. Will never not be at the forefront of my mind.
And we would have never known if not for Abby Shapiro. So thank you, Abby Shapiro, for calling to attention the fellatio skills of one of the most admired first ladies on the right.
Yeah. A woman who's trying desperately to get her forehead through your pelvis any way she can. Now that, my friend, I think is the true sausage of conservatism.
Very good.
There you go.
We are real professionals on
that's
this
right.
show.
Bring it back right at the last moment. All right. That is it for us for this week.
Please use Nancy Reagan as the image with the title "The Sausage of Conservatism."
You know what? I had an image in mind, but that one actually works better. That actually works better.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for us. Holy shit. That's it for us. We will see you guys next year. This will be our last show for the year. We will be back.
So nothing happened. Nothing happened for the next 2 weeks.
Right. Now, like if something super major happens, like we'll probably jump back on. But I think for the most part, if it's just like regular crazy news, we'll just be back at the beginning of the year. This is our last week. So we will see you guys next time.
Bye.